Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stress Free IEP, the show where we help families build their village to raise their neurodivergent children with confidence and support. I'm your host, Frances Schefter, special education attorney, advocate, and fellow parent walking this journey with you. Each week, we shine a light on the professionals, resources, and real world strategies that can empower you to navigate the IEP process and beyond without stress. Whether you're tuning in live on Facebook or YouTube or listening later on your favorite podcast app, we're so glad you're here. Let's dive in and meet today's amazing guest. Founder and founder and CEO of Practical AI, creator of Pocket Mentor, and author of Human First AI. Derek Crager is a tech founder and AI thought leader focused on human-centered innovation. He built Amazon's highest rated employee training program and created Pocket Mentor, a voice-based, hands-free AI coach that boosts on-the-job learning up to 30 times. Drawing on his neurodivergent perspective, autism, ADHD, and dyslexia, he designs inclusive AI that helps people grow rather than be replaced. Through his book and speaking, Derek champions mission driven, scalable AI that empowers individuals and organizations. Derek, welcome to the show.
Well, Francis, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this ever since I finished my turkey dinner last week.
Yeah, I have also because AI is such a hot topic right now of schools and like, well, kids can't use AI because they're using it too much and they're not like they're not actually doing the work, right? Is what a lot of people are saying. But what you do, your pocket mentor, is different, right?
It is, yeah. I think there was a MIT study just out earlier this year that spoke on that. If you don't use it, you lose it type of thing. And when we look at the copy and paste, the Chat GPT that made headlines, with schools. Gosh, that started a couple of years ago, right? But if you copy and paste, the information never enters the head of the child, the head of the student, whatever age the learner is. But what we use, it's called Pocket Mentor because, we keep our phones in our pocket and that's the device, the interface that we utilize. And it's a voice conversation. So anytime any student of no matter the age wants to ask a question, they hear it audibly. So it's in their brain at this point. It's not a copy and paste. So this allows them to process and actually think through it and ask follow-up questions. And actually, it helps align with is this really what I thought it is? Because it gets it in the brain. And when you're in the front of the room as a teacher or facilitator, we always talk about the take notes because that audio comes in your ear, it processes through the brain, and then it goes down your arm into your pen. Uh, it processes it, and that's what sinks it into the brain. So yeah, it's much different than the old copy and paste headlines that we were worried about.
That is so great, and it's so true because with the I'm just thinking about the note taking and how much it takes to note take, and for our neurodivergent children, how difficult it is because of all those processes that you need to put together. So does Pocket Mentor help with the note taking, or is it more like a Chat GPT that you ask it questions and it gives you responses?
Well, I want to start by saying that Pocket Mentor was actually the impetus was in the industrial field when we have frontline workers out there, operators and skilled tradespeople that are in the middle of a hot operation and maybe they need a little reinforcement reminder for step 2 of 5 to keep them going, to help operations keep rolling. So we've adapted this to the K through 12 school system as well. And the way it works is it's not so much as a in the ear, at least it can be used for anything, of course, just like a paper clip, right? But the way we designed it is that it augments the teacher's ear. So if you have a class of 20 students for 40 minutes, the teacher, if they had a one-on-one conversation with each student, it could last no longer than 2 minutes per student. So you take a student with 6 topics a day, and at most they get 12 minutes one on one with the teacher. We can't learn that way. That's definitely not a mentor protege relationship. So we designed Pocket Mentor to field these questions. And let's say that we take the teacher's brain and we put it in a box, and we allow students to take that box home with them, in addition to their textbooks and their laptops, etc. And if they have a question about a topic, they can interview the teacher as if the teacher was there. But in this way, the student benefits because they get to go down those rabbit holes that keeps teachers up late at night, in the middle of the class. Come on, Johnny, you've had the floor for 20 minutes now. Let's get on with Carol and Ann on those stories. But we don't want to take away from that curiosity because that's what drives learning. And the other side here is that it's scalable for the teacher, meaning that, my goodness, K-12 teachers already work 12 hours a day at minimum, and we don't want to give them added responsibility. We want to take responsibilities off their plate. So it allows the students to learn from the teacher at a scalable moment, 24/7, and allow the teachers to focus on what's important, that 6 or 8 hour day during the daytime.
So is it general AI or does the teacher program the lessons into it? Like,
Well,
how
that's a
does
great
that work?
question. And if we go to a math class, we have a math textbook. If we go to a sociology class or a science class, we have respective notebooks there, textbooks that we work from. So Pocket Mentor works in much the same way. A teacher in front of the classroom might have knowledge across many subjects, but they're only teaching one. So what we do, we download that topic specifically, and that's what the students get to ask questions of. So imagine digitizing a science book and then just pressing the easy button and saying, "Hey, Mr. Science Book, tell me about mitosis." And then there's an actual conversation because the books only present one side. They present an analytical, and if you understand point A, point B, point C, well, great. But probably 9 out of 10 students don't get it right out of the gate, so that's why they need that repetition. And the best way to learn is not from one side of the elephant, if you're familiar with that old metaphor, but it's to be able to see all 6 sides of the elephant. And a student on their own can talk to a textbook much better than they can reading it one dimensionally.
Ugh, I love this. I'm just thinking about, like, helping my 6th grader with homework, and there was eh, we were doing something, it was science, and I could not find the darn answers in the slides, and I'm like, "I don't know where the answers are." So I used my ChatGPT, and she's like, "That's cheating." I'm like, "It's not. I'm just asking them to explain it, and then we'll answer it in your own words." So it's kind of I did what Pocket Mentor does, but thinking about it on the parent side, I don't have time to do 7 subjects every night with both my children, and it sounds like this would help the kids be more independent
Oh,
with doing their
absolutely,
work.
it does. Yeah, and the way you described using ChatGPT to find an answer, it's ChatGPT really isn't thinking for you. It's a fancy lookup tool. Kind of like Google on steroids, right? Is how we put it.
Right.
And then for the students being able to converse, we emphasize that Pocket Mentor does not think for the student, but Pocket Mentor thinks with the student. And we chose mentor because there's significance in that term mentor. Mentors don't just, blurt out the answer to questions, it asks questions and it helps the student find on their own, which is a learning process of what the true meaning is. And that way they assimilate that knowledge much more quickly and for a longer term.
So that's the difference. The Pocket Mentor doesn't just spit out the answers. It makes the student think through things.
It does. And if you think through contacting a teacher and asking them a question, the teacher's right. Rarely does the teacher actually give the answer. They ask those philosophical questions sometimes that
Right.
make the student do a little more work. But the payoff is great. Through work comes realization, and through realization comes that true capture of knowledge for the student.
Yeah, it's amazing. So how is this accessible to all?
Well, it's just like a telephone call. but or whether it's digital or real life, like you and I are talking right now. I mean, this is a video telephone call. Um, it allows the student to just talk, right? They don't need to read. So anybody with dyslexia has an added barrier to textbooks and reading. It also enables. We used to call teaching one size fits all, right? The teacher would be up front and they would give a message, and the mandate was everybody learns from our message. But what we've learned over the years, especially the last couple decades, is that we're moving more toward a one size fits one. And this is why it's so important those student to teacher ratios are enforced, because we want as much minutes with the teacher per individual student as possible. So it's getting to that one size fits one is what Pocket Mentor does best. It tunes in to the student, tunes into the caller, and if it checks in, it says, "Hey, how you doing? Did you understand that? Do you want me to go deeper? Do you want me to go higher? You know, how many different ways do you want me to explain this? Or you tell me what you heard me say, and then we'll go from there." And that's the neat thing right there. It supports the neurodivergent learners and the way that they learn best.
I like that. So it asks the student, "What did you hear? Like, how do you think I answered it?" So that if the student's not repeating it right, then the AI, the Pocket Mentor, can adjust how it explained the whatever the issue, that not issue, but topic is.
Yeah,
Right.
100%, because it's awful easy just to search for an answer, you get an answer, and we don't really fact check it, right? We just say, "Oh, yeah, that looks okay." And the same way, even when we mentor somebody, there's differences in the way we converse with a mentor protege relationship than just an everyday question and answer. Everyday question and answer, I say, "Hey, Francis, what time is it?" And, you give me an answer. But in a mentor relationship, you might say, "Well, have you tried that watch you're wearing?" Or
Right.
something like that. It connects to the individual to get them to actually take part in the learning process.
Yeah. That I mean, that's so I'm just thinking about how amazing this could be, when used correctly, and that it's not. Like, I know so many people have heard the stories of the attorney that wrote a brief, or I don't remember where it was, something that he filed with the court and didn't bother to check the citations, and none of the citations were correct. Like, it was completely wrong, and so he got in a lot of trouble. But, like, that's the thing. It's like AI is a tool to use, not the end all be all, do it for you. You still need to know the basics to know, is it right? Is it telling me right? Is it on the right track?
That's true. I think that that attorney got in trouble, actually lost his law license. I think that was in the state of New York in the U.S. But yeah, that's absolutely true. We need to make sure that we are delivering the correct information, and that's why Pocket Mentor puts the knowledge in a box. So that way, it's answering from that knowledge base, that confinement. It's guardrail there to stay on track. So even when a student on a topic wants to ask about a different topic or go off track, it gently guides them right back to the topic. The issue that there is with just open LLM use, whether it be ChatGPT or Claude or any of the combinations that are out there, there's actually over 1 million LLMs that are out in existence now. So there's
Wow.
quite a lot of opportunity to. The term is hallucinate that got thrown around, but it's not so much hallucinating as just delivering the wrong message. And
Yeah.
the reason being is LLMs were trained on not just knowledge, but unverified knowledge across
Yeah.
the world. And it's digested the full internet in many cases. So there's so many wrong answers with the right answers. What's that phrase? Humans say, take this with a grain of salt.
Yep. Junk in is junk out, right? And that's what it is.
Yes,
And that's
absolutely. Yes.
and anybody can put anything on the internet. And so
Oh
if
yeah, yeah,
and so
yeah.
yeah, there's a
Back in the
lot of wrong
'90s when it,
information. Yeah.
yeah. What was that phrase back in the '90s when the internet was still in its early days? It says, "On the internet, no one knows you're a dog."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they know nothing about you. It is so true. And it's just like, yeah, Now that you brought up the 90s, it amazes me where technology has gone, right? Because, to date myself, like there weren't even computers when I was in elementary school, yet alone all of this other stuff. Um, but it's amazing how technology has advanced. And I agree with you, like you said earlier, that if you don't start using it, you're going to lose it, and you're not going to be able to keep up. I know a lot of parents. We talk about it often about well, how much the kids are on their Chromebooks or how much they're on technology, and it's like they don't want them using technology. I'm like, but not using technology is going to also put them at a disadvantage. It just needs to
It
be
is.
used correctly, right?
It is. I've got a great story on that. When I was in seventh grade, the Casio calculator watch came out, and it just did basic functions, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. But there were headlines back then, similar to the headlines we have today about AI. But back then, they're saying, should calculators be used in school? Should calculators be used in homework, on tests, et cetera, et cetera? And it really took about 20 years for the results to come in and everyone to align that said, hey, you know what? What the calculator does is it allows students to take care of the basic information and confirm it so their mind can be free to study higher level math.
Right.
So the basics is that it's a tool. Calculators are a tool. AI is a tool. It can be used for good or bad, just like any tool in the world. And that we just need to come in and use it for good.
Yeah. And train correctly. So have you seen, like, using this in the educational settings, have you seen, like, positive outcomes? Like, what have you seen happening?
Well, it's limited use because K-12 public, at least here in the U.S., is some people say it's behind the eight ball, and there's so much red tape and bureaucracy to go through there to change that there's limited. So the spikes that we see, the successes that we see, are usually in those individual. There's one or two teachers in every school that adopt and lead technology, and in those situations, yeah, they're having fantastic time and fantastic success. Are there points of learning? Sure, but there is in everything that we do. Anytime we introduce a new tool, we move forward. What's that progress dance? Two steps forward, one step back type of thing. So it's a little wisdom and patience, and yeah, those successes will continue to happen more and more.
So it is the pocket mentor, is that something that the teachers and schools have to buy, or is it something parents can do? What does that look like?
Well, the way it is right now, because think of it much like textbook assignment. You know, Textbooks are on contract. There's different publishers that partner with different school systems, and this way they align their teaching regimen. So we are not adding knowledge to the school. We're taking the knowledge that they have and giving the students an additional user-friendly interface to get in there. So we adopt whatever textbook and knowledge system that there already has, and we just ingest that. We put that in a digital box, and we add that easy button, so to speak, that is Pocket Mentor.
Got it. So it's the teacher side, because I'm thinking as a
Yeah,
parent,
yeah,
like,
it's the school
yeah,
side, yeah, but it
yeah,
starts with the teacher and individual classroom is usually how we break in, right? Those pilot, unofficial pilots say we're going to try this out, and when it works, then it can expand.
right. That's what they see. And as we all know, the red tape getting anything into the school systems is such a challenge. Um, but yeah, it's like I see how this could work and work for students and not take away the learning but enhance it. And I see how it could be used. I mean, obviously everything can be used wrong, but it sounds like you have in the system stop gaps that it can't be used wrong because you're just putting
Correct.
the certain
Yeah, correct. And we align with the security and privacy guidelines of each institution. And the benefit here is that the good outweighs the bad in whatever form it takes. And the good just opens up so much opportunity for the individual to ask questions and deep dive. And we talk about that in a public setting. We usually start the year or start the day off by saying, "Hey, there are no stupid questions, so just raise your hand and ask." But we know that even myself feel compelled. Is that appropriate question for here? And the neat thing about using AI is that it's infinitely patient and wise and supportive, and it will not judge. So it allows the individual who may have felt oppressed up to that point, all through a school term, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years down the road, it allows them to be themselves. And when they can feel and be themselves, that's when their mind is most open to learn.
I love that because I'm also thinking about like the kids that are so afraid to ask a question because they don't want the peers to laugh at them. And they don't want, the peer pressure of like, how can you not know that? So they're afraid. When in reality, the majority of the time we figure it out that everybody's thinking the same question, but everybody's afraid to ask it. Um, but I love, like, I'm thinking along the lines of in IEPs, how we have the self advocacy goals. And then I'm seeing how this pocket mentor can help students give them the confidence to ask questions and give them the
It is, yeah,
confidence.
through
Yeah.
practice, right? Yeah, through
Yeah.
practice, because advocacy, advocacy for ourselves, right? It's you need to generate that momentum. Some people never generate it and they just sit there with their mouths closed. But this allows them to start asking questions and then feel comfortable with those questions. So when they move into a social setting with other humans, they're more likely to follow, the script that they've just learned and be open and honest and speak out to other humans, and it creates better conversations.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about kids on the spectrum with inferences, how hard it is for inferences. And it's for those not on the spectrum, don't understand how the kids on the spectrum, right? Can't get inferences. And I'm assuming that Pocket Mentor will help kids make those connections, right?
Well, it does, and here's something that's pretty neat. Those on the spectrum actually are better at prompt generation. Designing the right prompt because that's how they've spoken their entire lives. And this whole prompt engineer scenario and the fact that AI will give you the right answer if you ask it the right way. I'm talking like back to the keyboard days. Um, People are aligning with how to include the right context, the right inference, um, the right terms by definition to get and elicit the best answer out of AI. And the neat thing about it is they can apply those same skills when talking to someone on the spectrum, because those of us on the spectrum, we take things so literally because, hey, they're words, right?
Right. Yeah, and my daughter's on the spectrum and like has a difficult time with sarcasm. She's gotten better because my husband's extremely sarcastic, so she's kind of had to. But yeah, it's hard. Like she doesn't, and she'll come home sometimes and well, the teacher said this. I'm like, well, let's talk that through. Is that what the teacher really meant, or is it not? And I guess that's something that everybody needs help with. When you're on the spectrum of like knowing, is this literal or is this not? And I'm
We
assuming
all do
yeah.
need help, absolutely, Francis. And I'm autistic, a dyslexic, ADHD diagnosis, late stage, age 50 is when I found out. But
Wow.
our our technology, the way we design and implement I call it neuroagnostic, meaning that it doesn't matter how your brain waves come in. We're going to speak to you in a one size fits one manner. And we all attune, even those that are neurotypical, I think is the phrase that's thrown out there. No two people think alike. So it's important that we honor that one on one relationship. And when we do, it doesn't matter if we have labels assigned to us or to ourselves, because that one on one relationship is the highest form of knowledge intimacy. And it's the greatest opportunity for
Right. Yeah, that's the labels make me crazy. Unfortunately, we have to use them. But like my kids, when I was having them tested, both of them are like, but mom, you said everybody's brain works differently. So why do I need to get tested because my brain works to see how my brain works? And I'm like, you're right, but we want to figure out how your brain works so we can figure out how you can learn the best. Um, but it's so true. Like all of us think differently, all of us learn differently. And we need schools need to get better about individualizing it, which it sounds like that's what Pocket Mentor, exactly what Pocket Mentor does. It gives them that one-on-one that the child needs in their meeting them where they are.
It is, yeah, meeting them when there are. And to answer, your child's question about why, it's best said. There's Dr. Nancy Doyle in the UK. She has a group called Genius Within, and if you go to geniuswithin.org, she has a page called "What is Neurodiversity?" and on that page is the best, simplest explanation of what neurodiversity is. It essentially defines everybody as different, and it says we can measure that on this XY graph. And even when we're all the same label, we're still different. So it really comes down to a skill level. Those that are neurotypical are like a +1 or a -1 on individual skills, A to Z. Whereas those that fall under that neurodivergent mindset, they might be a +8 or a +10 on a skill set in something, right? We refer to them as a savant, but they might be a -8 or a -10 in context or social skills. And unfortunately, humanity judges on the worst in somebody all too
Yeah.
often, more so than the best. So give Nancy Doyle's Genius Within, What is Neurodiversity? It's a great piece of context for your audience.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure we put the link when this, tomorrow when it gets out, with like all of the show notes and everything. Um, and I just lost my train of thought on that. Um, but yeah, it's sorry, I just totally lost. I had something and then I lost it. I hate when that happens, right? Um, with the reality, like this is just so interesting and how, you know, schools teach to the masses, unfortunately. It's what they have to do. And schools aren't adjusting with the time as much as they could and should. Um, and it's just, I love that you're taking this initiative to get this out there to help all of us, all of our kids and to bring us up into the 21st century. Um, of where we need to be with technology and using it appropriately. And it's just kind of, what I'm thinking about is that with anything with kids, if you teach them how to use it appropriately, rather than saying you can't use it, they're going to be so much better off. Because what do kids do when you say you can't do something? They sneak
Always
out,
the opposite.
right? They figure out how to use it. Like, ooh, then I can use it this way. I can sneak around this. Like, we joke around. The parents joke around about like all the permit restrictions we put on the kids' phones and stuff, and the kids can all figure out, oh, there's this workaround. Same with the Chromebooks in school. Oh, this is workaround. So it's like, okay, kids, you want to use AI. This is how we're going to use it, and this is how it's appropriate. And so,
Well, they develop their teamwork skills when they do that. So that's really a positive right there, is being able to work with other people. So they just do it despite mom and dad versus supporting mom and dad.
right, exactly. Yeah, I love that. This is so it's so amazing because at first I was like, well, I don't know how's the audience going to take this AI? Everybody's so against it. But this, thank you so much for coming on the show and showing us of how you don't have to be against it. It's not doing the work for the child if it's used correctly.
Well, absolutely. And we're at that fork in the road of using AI to replace the thinking brain or using AI to supplement or amplify the human. And that's my pitch right there. I believe that amplifying humans is the way AI is going to take us to that next century.
Yep. I agree, definitely. So before we wrap up, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you think that our listeners should really know?
Well, I would say that don't be afraid of AI. And AI is really, it's the next wave of information. And the internet, when it came around in 1989, really didn't take hold until about 2006. But the internet was just another way to access information. The information, good or bad, we find out later. So AI is here, and we're only 3 years into this consumer accessible AI. So don't judge it bad, don't judge it good. Set aside your bias and just experiment with it. Because as Francis said, it's put your hands on it and you understand it better. And it'll probably be another few years before that pendulum swings and settles in one direction. But until then, experiment, have fun, and just learn.
Yep, definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on to the show and sharing all of your wisdom and helping us as parents and our audience to move forward with technology in an appropriate way.
Well, thank you, Francis. Love your agenda. You keep the good work.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Stress Free IEP. We hope today's conversation gave you new tools, insights, or just a little more peace of mind as you support your neurodivergent child. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone in your village. You can always learn more and connect with me at schefterlaw.com or follow along on social media. Until next time, remember, you do not have to do it all alone.